Welcome to the Lunch Lads podcast.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Lunch Lads podcast. Today, we will interview NHL play-by-play announcer John Bartlett, and then we will sit down with Adam Satoff to talk about his new hit song Minty, as well as some NBA awards. Be sure to check us out on all platforms at the Lunch Lads and on Instagram at the Lunch Lads Pod.
And now, I would like to introduce the guest for this episode. He is a play-by-play NHL broadcaster for Sportsnet and Hockey Night in Canada. Would you please join me in introducing John Bartlett?
Yeah. Oh, very nice. That was good. You need the little crowd effects and everything in the back.
Yeah.
Of course.
Need the crowd cheering for me. Yeah.
I like it.
All right. So the first question is, John, what goes into your preparation for a typical NHL broadcast?
Funny you say that. Actually, I was just working on some prep right now. A lot of it is just really watching a lot of games, following what's going on, reading, what's going on in the league. A lot of it really has to do just watching other games and just getting to know who's on the ice with what team, how they're playing, and the prep work. I know a lot of people, when you ask about that, what do you do? How do you do it? And my answer to that usually is it's whatever works best for you. Everyone has a different method. Some people use paper, some use computers, some are long, short. I think Bob Cole used to just have the lineups. All he wanted was the lines, and it was on a card about that big, and he could flip and do a whole game. So everyone's got their own method, and I think it's whatever works best for you. But yeah, usually the prep is just a lot of game watching and yeah, just going through some notes and then building some little nuggets of info that you like to toss in once in a while when you have the chance.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah. So when did you realize that being a broadcaster was something that you want to pursue in your life? Because obviously hearing you now, you have the voice, but when did you realize like this was something that you could actually make a career out of?
When did I think I can make? Well, good point, Jake. Yeah, I first started on radio. Actually, the first little bit I had a taste of being on the air. I was 9 years old. I was a character on an evening show called the Rock and Roll Troll. On a Halloween night is how it started. I did like a Wolfman Jack voice. I don't even know if I can do anymore. But the first time that I really got into it, I was the PA announcer for the local junior team in town, the Newmarket 87s. Then became the Hurricanes. And so I was like you guys. I was in high school, and I was the PA announcer. And there was an opportunity one night where the AAA team in town was starting up, the York Simcoe Express, and they wanted to have Rogers Cable come and do their first two games. And they had hired me that night just to do the music. So I was actually playing my own game in another town that night. So I had a shirt and tie on, but I had a ball cap on. I expected to be hiding in the press box all night with nobody seeing me. And the gentleman that was supposed to show up to call the game for Rogers didn't show up. So they came down to me and said, if you can find someone else to do the music for you tonight, do you think you could slide down to the booth and try calling the game? I said, sure. So my actually it was my minor hockey coach that was in the building. I said, hey, can you come spin some CDs for me? Whatever you do, don't play the same song twice and don't play the same artist. And of course he did both. But anyways, so I slid down to the booth and called my first game. And I had as I said, I pop on air with a ball cap. I wasn't expecting to be on TV that night, and that was the first game I called, and I had some fun with it. And from there, I moved on to do the minor hockey tournaments, and then worked my way up through some junior C, junior A, the OHL, AHL, NHL. But that's where it all started, though. And yeah, I was just like you guys. And taking every opportunity I could. But that first game I did, it was after that I said, this is pretty fun. Maybe this is something to pursue along the way. Yeah,
That's hilarious. It almost happened pretty much by accident. If those guys showed up, then like who knows where you would have been now.
Yeah, that's true. I've never really thought of that actually. If they didn't, would I have ever gone to play-by-play or tried it if that didn't happen? And that's probably a really good question. But sometimes that's the window of opportunity that opens, and that's how you find your passion in life. So that's what it was for me.
John, could you tell us your favorite moment you experienced as a broadcaster?
Oh boy. Favorite moment. I don't know if I have one particular one that stands out. I obviously there's some good moments where you remember the first NHL game I did. I remember my first Hockey Night in Canada game. Um, there's been some moments along the way of when I've met people, that you've admired through your career and get a chance to meet them. I'll always remember the first time I met Dick Irvin, who now actually I just spoke to him today, this afternoon. We were just chatting on the phone. We're good friends now, but I remember the first time I met him, and that was pretty cool. Where he knew who I was when I was trying to introduce myself, and it stunned me, blew me away. But for memories, I don't know if I have one in particular that stands out. I know some guys like to say the best is still yet to come for that. There's been some really fun games and some fun experiences. I love playoff time, as anyone does. I think back to 2 years ago, the 2019 playoffs, when I did the Islanders and the Penguins in round one, and it was the first time back in the Coliseum in the playoffs for the Islanders, and oh my goodness, it was so loud in there and the atmosphere was so exciting and it was just rocking. I remember in game two, my chair was shaking in the booth. They were going that loud. So, there's a lot of sort of fun stuff like that along the way. And also just some fun memories of great crew members I've got to work with and fun stories. But yeah, I don't know if I have one particular that stands out. Just as I said, some of those sort of memorable moments, you kind of remember that way.
Did you do that game one of the Islanders series when Josh Bailey scored the overtime goal?
Yeah, the overtime winner. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, and that was they did that whole series, and what a year that was, because the Islanders had such momentum going, and they swept the Penguins in four, and then they had the long break, waiting for the series to end before Carolina in round two. And I remember talking to Barry Trotz, and he knew they were in trouble for two reasons. There was too much of a layoff, and they lost all the momentum, and then tried to get it back up when the Hurricanes were coming off an emotional Game 7 win. And then they also moved to Brooklyn for the first couple of games in round two. And they tried to recreate what they had going on in the Coliseum, but it wasn't the same. And I think that hurt the Islanders. And then what a year, because Carolina then swept the Islanders in four, and then they went on. It was like, if you were involved in a sweep in the first round, you'll get swept the next one, is what it seemed to be. But and then I also had the double overtime Game 7 with the Blues and Stars that year.
Oh, wow.
Well, the
Maroon.
Maroons.
That was a great.
Yeah, and that was a heck of a game too. Yeah, so I playoff time, it's a complete different level, and we always get wrapped up in, of course, in Canada and what goes on in our 7 cities and 7 markets. But I've got to tell you, playoff time, there's some other markets too that they're just so fun, and you get into it, and you really enjoy the hockey, but also the passion of the fans and the way they get going, and it's a lot of fun.
So, John, going into the playoffs like pretty soon, do you think the Leafs goaltending issue is going to cause a pretty bad fall in the playoffs or not succeed as much as they should?
Well, Ryan, I think the big part that Kyle Dubas has tried to do was in previous years, it was kind of ride with Frederik Andersen, and if it didn't work, then you were in trouble. But I think they've got a little more stability now with having Jack Campbell and David Riddick as someone else they can go to. Now, the situation that they have here is, who do you go with? You probably start at this point, the way it stands right now when we're talking, you probably start Jack Campbell in game one, because I don't know if Frederik Andersen would be ready yet. You think of the Penguins run to the Cup a few years ago where they went through 3 goaltenders. It can happen. So the Leafs have some depth that way. But yeah, it's certainly, I don't know if it's probably more of a distraction than a detriment when you have to talk about the goaltending. If everything goes well, no problem. But if it starts to get to be a little trouble for them, then what do you do? What do you do if you start Campbell and it doesn't go well, and you put Anderson in, he's not ready. Now you're into Riddick. That's where it can get a little dicey. So it's probably the depth is good. The concern they probably have is where Frederik Andersen will be at come playoff time, and where he will fit into that triangle of goaltenders that they have right now.
Yeah, for sure. Freddie was just in the AHL like yesterday, and he let up 2 goals and didn't look that good. But hopefully he can be back for the playoffs, and him and Campbell can be somewhat steady enough to let the Leafs go on a deep run.
Yeah, and I was listening I think it was on the Leafs Habs broadcast yesterday, or maybe it was another game, but they were mentioning teams that have gone on deep playoff runs in the past few seasons. There's usually one consistency with those teams is that they have a nice 1-2 punch at goalie where, like, a team, you can be like losing 5-1 in one game, and then you have to put in your goalie for the next one on a back-to-back, and then they come in and they go off. Like last year with, perfect example, Vancouver with like Demko and Markstrom. When Markstrom plays bad, Demko comes in, or Binnington and Allen last year. So
Yeah, and we've seen Marc-Andre Fleury. He went through that, and I think that's probably more a case of where we are with the game right now too, where you see teams that really want to have that solid backup that they can give more time to. I think that's why Montreal spent the money they did to have Jake Allen back up Carey Price, and there's a scenario there where they don't know what that's going to look like for them either going in the playoffs. So I think, yeah, as we've seen, because of how teams have handled it with the playoffs, because of the importance of having that good backup goalie, I think we've seen teams put a little more importance into that position, especially if they know that they're going to go on a run, or hope to go on a run at least in the playoffs.
John, what does Cole Caulfield bring to the table in Montreal, and why can he be an important piece for the Habs in future years?
Well, he's a goal scorer first. He is a shooter and knows how to find the right spot and get the puck in the net. He's been off to a crazy start. The only caution I would have for Canadiens fans, and I think Caulfield's in a bit of a special category this way in where he is, but it is a big leap. No matter how good you are and how many goals you've scored, it's a big jump to go from college hockey to professional hockey, and especially if you're going to make that jump straight to the NHL and skip the American Hockey League, which Caulfield dipped his toe in for a couple of games and had the 3 goals. But different scenario where I think he got called up because they weren't going to play games, and then it landed a chance for him to get in the lineup. So, but it really is a different game. And I remember when my days in the American Hockey League, I saw so many players come out of the college ranks into pro hockey and struggle with it. And you don't just struggle on the ice, you struggle off the ice a little bit too. College hockey is a much shorter season. It's a much different lifestyle schedule. You're not used to the same practice everyday routine, the travel, and the amount of games is a big difference too. So a lot of times in a full season, you'd see someone come out of the college ranks, and by December, especially if they're a rookie, they've been into rookie camp, training camp, exhibition games, and then into the season. They've already surpassed their previous year's game total by December. And you always saw a little lag at, come around Christmas time in the adjustments. So Caulfield right now, he's riding a high and a great year he has. And let's see what he can do. Sometimes you get the magic, and, it's happened before, especially in Montreal, with players coming in and making a tear of it in the playoff run as a rookie. But so I think my biggest thing for Caulfield is he certainly has the smarts. He certainly has the talent and ability. Can he translate that into a pro game each and every night over a pro season where it's a bit of a different battle and an adjustment, and that'll be his biggest challenge. If he can accomplish that, I think he'll be a great player for years to come for the Canadiens. But we've seen Hobey Baker winners before that just didn't make that transition to pro hockey. Now, as I said, I think Caulfield's a special in that category. I think he can do it. But there's been big touted players before that have come in and just haven't been able to live up to expectations. So, and I'm sure he'll be fine in Montreal because there's not many expectations on him in that market, right? Nice, easy market to go in, no pressure.
No pressure at all.
No pressure, yeah.
I thought it was funny that he said that 2021 was the best, or 2021 was the best year of his life, considering all he's accomplished, but not the same for all of us, I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, perspective, right? And it's always different how you see it. So
this year being a shortened season caused many changes, like with the games played. In the shortened season, what would you say is more impressive? Austin Matthews' amount of goals, or Connor McDavid's amount of points so far?
McDavid points, 100 points is that's to do that in the shortened season. Holy cow! Not to diminish anything that that Austin Matthews has done. I celebrating the 40 and 49. I used to celebrate 50 and 50, but it's a different game now. So Matthews has been magic this year. He's been able to, just have that touch, find the net, and to do that with everything going on as well. And in the season, and he had the wrist injury as well. But this started last year, right? If you think last year with the Leafs, Matthews was on that chase for 50 until the season stopped. So I think that this really for him has carried over from last year with his goal scoring, and so to hit the mark and looks like he should run away with the Rocket Richard Trophy. I think that's huge for Austin Matthews, but for McDavid to hit 100 points. That's averaging 2 points a game at the 50 game mark right there. So he's been unbelievable this year for the Oilers. And of course, it'll all come down, as it always does, to the postseason and what they both can do with their respective clubs in the North Division. So, but I think it's pretty special. It's special to have 100 points in a regular season. It's incredible to do it in the shortened season this year. So I'd have to give Connor McDavid the edge on that.
Yeah, especially when he's so far ahead of everyone. Like no one's close.
Oh, not even close. Yeah. And he's still just, you can say feasted on certain teams, certain nights. Well, everyone is facing that this year. It's the same for all teams, all divisions. Everyone will argue their division is stronger or weaker than another one. And we're not going to know that this year. We have no comparison this year. The first time teams are going to face any opponent outside of their own division will be the conference final. And there's only going to be 4 teams left that are going to play each other at that point. So you can't really compare apples to apples, if you would, this season. But it's still been fun to watch and better than nothing. So,
yeah. So speaking of North Division, as playoff time is approaching, we've seen a good amount of every single team, especially with their matchups against each other. And the playoff picture, like the matchups, are kind of coming a little more clear as we're approaching the final games of the season. So if I'm asking you, who do you think is going to come out of the North right now if you had to choose one team?
Okay, so how can I do this? I will say it will be the team that will win their 2 series. And see, I played it safe. I don't get in trouble on any market. No, you know what? Man, this is what's so exciting about this. This is going to be a really fun playoff year to watch with the battles. I think if it stays the way it is right now, and Winnipeg holds the 3rd spot, they're going to have the Oilers, and that's going to be a real tough test with Connor McDavid. And as much as Winnipeg probably has the benefit of that series in coming in as an underdog, I think the pressure is on Edmonton and on McDavid to do something this year. Okay, you've got the 100 points and you've had the year you've had. Now the fans in Edmonton are going to wait to say, all right, now we need some postseason magic from you here. So Edmonton, I think, will feel more pressure in that series than Winnipeg from some aspects. Toronto, Montreal, the Canadiens are going to have to be healthy if they want to have a shot against the Leafs, or it's going to be a pretty good ride for Toronto in that series. The only challenge for Toronto is, are you in too much cruise control down the stretch? That's something you always have to watch, when playoff time gets ramped up. Are you ready for that? And again, Toronto, as great of a regular season they've had, they have a lot of pressure on them to win a playoff round. And move on. So if anything, if everything's going well, it's smooth, it's good sailing. But if the waters get choppy and rough, and they get behind in a series or anything, there's going to be a lot of heat, a lot of pressure. So I think that's why they wanted to bring in the experience of players like Joe Thornton and Nick Foligno, to have him in and just try to calm the waters a little. Wayne Simmons too. I think that's what Kyle Dubas wanted. Is the core of the Leafs is still a very young, immature team in many ways, and I say that in the fact of their experience so far makes them immature in the sense that they haven't gone far, they haven't gone deep, and those are learning lessons as a player you learn along the way in your career.
Yeah.
But the division, I think everyone has a great chance of getting out of it. Like
Fair.
how I did that? Tap dance.
I like it.
So, John, in a potential first-round showdown, for the Leafs, it's not 100% set which team it's going to be. Which team do you think is the better option for the Leafs, the Jets or the Habs?
Oh, I would say that it would really depend on the health of the Canadians. Montreal is probably their better matchup for Toronto as it stands now. The scary part is for Toronto is if Montreal gets healthy and Carey Price decides to play like he did in the bubble last year, then all of a sudden that changes the dynamic of the series in a big way, especially as we talked about before. If Toronto's goaltending situation is unsettled in the sense of who do they go with, what do they, have, and then if Price comes in and finds his form from the playoffs last year and has Jake Allen behind him, then all of a sudden that becomes a bit of a scary proposition. So Winnipeg, a bit of a different style for Toronto from that sense, the way they would play. So at the moment, I would say if everything stayed the way it was right now equally, then I would say Montreal is probably the better matchup for the Leafs.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think Leafs Habs would be a great first round series for the fans to watch.
Yeah, well, I'm sure all your parents were alive the last time they did, and none of you were.
That's been so long. Everyone wants to see it.
Fast rivalry.
Yeah, well, and you talk about rivalry, it's kind of funny. Rivalries really are built through the playoffs. So,
Oh yeah.
I was talking to somebody the other day and they were saying about Toronto, Montreal, not really a rivalry anymore. It's a history. And that's probably a good point in the fact that it's a historic rival at this point because it's been so long that they've met in the playoffs, where you would argue that the Leafs have more of a rivalry with Boston because of their playoff history. Or back in the, in the 2000s, the Battle of Ontario was all from the playoffs when Ottawa was going to the conference finals, and Toronto and Ottawa, those big playoff battles. That's where that real Battle of Ontario had started and come from. So usually it's playoff rivalry that really makes a rivalry intense. And what a year if it does happen, Montreal, Toronto, to not have fans in the building.
I know.
That also adds a really big element to it. And we're going to have to be honest with ourselves here that we're going to miss having fans in the stands in the playoffs in Canada. Well, in all buildings, really. I know in the States that they do have some there, but it's nothing like, no, it's not. And that'll probably change a bit of the dynamic of the playoffs too.
Yeah.
All right, John, thanks so much for coming on our podcast. It was great talking hockey with you, and hopefully we can have you back on sometime soon. Thanks.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was a pleasure, guys. And keep up what you're doing. It's great to see it. And, it's so tough these days to try and carve your way and find a path when you want to get into broadcast and stuff. But look at all the technology that we have and podcasts and everything we can do now. So it's good you guys do this. And yeah, I'd be glad to come back anytime with you. Keep up the great work.
All right. Good luck in the playoffs.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, John, for coming on the pod. We had a lot of fun talking with you. Wish you the best of luck this playoffs. Hopefully we can talk to you soon. But now I would like to introduce our next guest. He is the singer and songwriter of Minty.
Yes, sir.
Adam Satov, aka Apps.
What's up, Adam?
Yo, Apps, what's good?
Not much. I'm excited after the new drop.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So, Adam, the first question of the day is, what inspired you to write the song Minty?
Well, I feel like it's a lot of things. It's just like whatever is just happening in your life at that moment, you kind of just write it out. Not really like when you go into, I didn't really like think of like an exact outcome of like what it's about. Just kind of just pieced a bunch of different things.
Go with the flow.
It just came to your head.
Yeah, it's actually funny. Jared sends me beats all the time. I was out like with like some boys and I got back to my bed at like, it was like 12:30 at night and I saw that he sent me a beat and I played it. And then I started I just came up with the hook and then I forgot about it for 2 days and I checked my voice memos and I found it and then I just wrote the rest of it. It's actually a crazy story.
Makes the song even better with a good backstory.
Exactly.
Man, what's Minty? Like, what does Minty actually mean? Can you tell us?
I feel like it's like when, I don't know, I'm not saying anyone in specific, but when someone like just like kind of like it's minty, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I get it, man.
So it's not one of the options that I posted on Music Appreciation Club being one of a breath mint or something random.
I guess it's breath mint. Yeah, you guess.
Breath. Everyone likes a nice.
So breath.
When the breath smells bad after, you got to go for a nice mint.
Yeah, you need a mint.
The feeling of your breath after chewing a mint just is so nice.
a quote, minty like
Tic
Tic Tac.
Cold.
Yeah,
And I
Minty,
thought I wanted like the album. So like my brother's friend, makes like album artwork. So like I hit him up, and like I wanted it to like kind of just be like tropical, but like also minty, and I felt like it captured that really well.
yeah,
Yeah.
Minty like a Tic Tac.
Exactly.
Yeah, minty like Tic Tac. So, Adam, I know you went over this a little bit when Donnie asked you a question, but what goes into a songwriting process? Is it kind of just like off the top of your head, or like sometimes when you hear a beat, like you know exactly what you're gonna write in it, or what's that process like?
At first, Jared's always send me the beat and then I write to it. But
Jared, man, I love
Jared is crazy.
Yeah.
Yo,
Shout out Jared.
Jared's not here.
he's next level. Like he's actually going places. But like so a lot of times like he'd send me the beat. Like for the majority of the time he'll send me the beat and I just write to it. But like recently I've been like just writing something and then he'd make it. We'll FaceTime and we'll make a beat like to what I just wrote. So like and sometimes that's sick because they're literally just like making it exactly match whatever I just wrote. But otherwise I just write to it.
Yeah, so you're starting to evolve, getting better every song.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I feel like
on average, how long does it take to write like one song?
like sometimes it could be all in a day. So like some of them are even freestyles, but sometimes I could spread it over a couple of days.
Makes
Right.
sense.
Depends.
Well, it's been a real pleasure to just see you evolve as an artist, you know?
Appreciate it.
All the way
I
from
agree
Right
not.
Path into Minty.
Exactly. I feel
Everyone
like
go-
hear, like,
everyone
the
go listen
difference
and
in
download.
quality.
Everyone has to go listen and download Minty on Apple
Yes,
Music
sir.
and Spotify.
Link is in the description.
That link's in the
Let's go.
description. Everyone go hit it up. So now
And
we
he
have
did
Adam here. He's not just a singer-songwriter. He's also an NBA specialist. So Adam,
yeah.
I'm gonna ask you a few NBA questions as the season's wrapping up.
All right.
So
All right.
Adam, no, hit
shoot,
it up.
Donnie, go.
Okay, so Adam, who's as of now is your MVP pick?
I think I gotta go with Jokic.
Yeah.
I know it's a classic, but I think that's not like guaranteed. I think Dame, if he finishes strong, gets Portland a bunch of dubs to end the season, I think he should definitely be looked at. And I think Westbrook is also the biggest sleeper.
Yeah, I like Westbrook a lot, bringing the Wizards into a playoff contention. So you're not one of those guys.
Westbrook's not winning MVP.
He's not winning MVP, but he's doing very well.
He's
So you're
literally
not-
putting up a triple double. I don't know. I think he's really,
going crazy, but you're not a Curry or Embiid type of guy.
I feel like Westbrook should get it over Curry, to be honest. Their teams are kind of in the same place, and I think Westbrook's numbers are more impressive.
Like, I can see why you think Westbrook's an MVP player, but I just don't see him winning.
And Embiid, I think Embiid has a chance. I just think they'd give it to Jokic over Embiid.
Yeah. All right.
Adam, what are your thoughts on the Raptors, man? Where do you see them next season?
Man, I don't even know at this point. It's hard.
Yeah, we're getting Mobley. We're getting Mobley.
I
We're
think
kind of in a disaster situation right now.
I feel like it's like too late now, but I feel like when our team's healthy, we like even with our team right now, it's a good team. It's just like we like I swear we haven't had like 3 games in a row where we've been healthy.
Yeah, everyone's hurt right now.
We're in like no man's land. Like
I don't even know if our team's good. Like I've never seen it. Like I don't know what our team is, man. And like no one's ever healthy on the same night.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
Where's Kyle next year?
I think he's out of there.
Yeah, I think he's going to Philly.
But I think that gives like both Flynn and Van Fleet like really like great.
Yeah, Flynn's been really good, but that perfectly transitions.
Role. Flynn like could turn into like the next Van Fleet, and Van Fleet next Lowry or even better.
Yeah, speaking of Flynn, rookie, it's a pretty lackluster year for star rookies in the NBA. But if you had to choose, who would be your rookie of the year right now? Unfortunately, LaMelo missed a lot of time, and he was pretty much a lock at that point. But do you think he still has a shot, or are you going with someone different?
Give me Emmanuel Quickly.
You're gonna say something random.
Although Quickly, I think is going to be the best out of this rookie class. Like, mark my word. I think Edwards got in the bag. Like, and
I still think it's Lonzo's award to lose.
LaMelo.
Too good. LaMelo. He's too good compared to the rest. None of these guys have stepped up since.
Edwards just put up like 48 and like Edwards is gross.
But
like,
you also have to take into account that he's playing on like an empty-less team in Minnesota where he's the only guy putting up points. Like Malik, Cat, and D'Lo have been like playing every like other game. D'Lo got ejected last night, which is why Edwards went off, and Beasley's still suspended. So I don't really know how good
That's a fair point. Do you think if Lonzo gets to the playoffs, he has a chance to do anything?
Lonzo or LaMelo.
Sorry, LaMelo. Fuck.
If LaMelo gets to the playoffs, they're gonna like the East is very like shaky. I feel like there's no like set team like there is like a Lakers or Clippers in the West, or like except for the Nets, there's not that second team.
The
Yeah,
Nets
but here's
are
the
looking
thing,
shaky,
like-
man, the Nets are looking shaky.
Yeah, the Nets looking shaky. Even like Harden's not even guaranteed back for round one. Like that could be a huge difference.
Here's the thing though, because like from 7 to 10, one of the two teams like in the play-in is going to be either the Celtics or the Heat, and I don't see like either of them not getting it. So that leaves it for only one other team, and I think
The Wizards are making the
on
playoffs.
the bag. So kind of sucks for the Pacers and the Hornets.
But the thing is, like in that East, like teams like the Wizards, I'm more confident. If the Wizards make the playoffs, I'm more confident in them than I am in the Bucks. And like same with the Heat. Like I like those like lower seeded teams more than those some of the higher.
Like Westbrook and Beal, like they figured it out.
Yeah, like they're starting to get it together, like we all thought they would.
Exactly.
All right, Adam.
Appreciate it,
Pleasure
boy.
talking to you, man. Everyone go hit up Minty on all platforms.
And the album's on the way.
Album on the way.
You heard it here first. All right. Thanks so much, Adam.
Let's go.
It was a blast talking to Adam and John, and we hope to have them back on the podcast soon. As always, be sure to check us out on all platforms at The Lunch Lads, on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts, and on Instagram at The Lunch Lads Pod. Peace!